Hi there, in today's video I'm going to run through the installation of the full auto trigger group on the First Strike T15. Hi there, I'm Rob at Tactical Magfed and we're going to go ahead now and run through the installation of this full auto trigger set on the First Strike T15. Obviously what you're going to need is First Strike T15 to start off with. You're also going to need the First Strike full auto kit here. Inside the kit we're going to have a bunch of components, as you can see on the back of the box. So without further ado, let's get cracking on with it. So actually I'll run through the components first. So you get your trigger group here. This is from the States. I don't know if there's a different version in the UK to the States, but here's the trigger group. It comes pre-greased. They do advise to grease that inner workings there. They also advise to grease the sear and the striker on your magazine, the striker on your marker. So there's the trigger. You also get a new fire selector switch. This fire selector, not many people cover this in their videos, but the full auto kit is actually, it's got 3 fire modes but 4 operations. So you have safety, not firing, you have semi-auto, you have full auto, but when you depress the trigger slightly, you get a single shot, you get a semi-auto shot, and then if you pull the trigger back the full distance, it then goes into the full auto mode. So you can shoot semi-auto if you get used to the trigger pull when you're in the full auto mode. So I will do another video on the fire selector options anyway, so stay tuned for that at a later date once I get this installed and figured out. So there's your fire selector switch, and then you get uprated spring, a bigger buffer there, and a complete new bolt assembly that goes in the marker. So this all comes it is all pre-lubricated and greased in here. This is all lubricated. I don't know if you can see that in here, but the bag sticking to the bolt and everything is all nicely greased. So I'll keep it in there until I put it in the marker. So get those out of the way for now. And of course we move over to the main event. So before you start playing around with your marker, you've obviously got to make sure it's degassed and it's not cocked, because if you open it up and it's cocked, you'll get surprised because all the working parts will move forward. So barrels are moved anyway. As you can see, there's no air or ASA on here. It is cocked, so I will go ahead and release that. I'm going to keep that in safety for now. So there's obviously the gun's in. There's 2 halves, the upper receiver, lower receiver, and there's 2 parts of the installation. So firstly, we're going to go ahead and remove the upper receiver, pushing the pins out this side. If I can do it with my fingers, I will. Nope. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Just going to put the lower receiver to one side for a sec. So we've got the upper receiver here. So effectively all we're doing now is removing out the old spring, the old buffer tube. You keep hold of the end cap, you can use that again, and you pull the bolt out of the back. So here's the old bolt. That's going to be redundant in the in the new world of things. You get your new bolt and spring and buffer. You see it's a slightly bigger buffer rubber on there. So have your end cap, one buffer, one new spring, That's there ready to go in. Difference between the springs. So it looks like it's tighter. Don't know. Doesn't look too different from the offset. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, it's slightly longer. It's a slightly longer spring, so it's going to have some kind of tension on there that it needs for the full auto. So that's ready. Take the bolt out, put it into the back of the marker. Okay, put the spring, buffer and end cap back in. There we go. That's in. Cool. So that's effectively the upper receiver all put together. No big dramas there. So I put that to one side till we need it. Okay, so we're going to take the lower receiver now, and we're going to essentially push out these two pins, take the trigger group out and replace it. Before we do that, we need to take out the old fire selector switch. You can do this by, if you put the pointy section of the fire selector between safety and semi, it should allow you to just push that side, it'll pop out. Okay, so you take the old fire selector switch, put that to one side as well. Right, so we're now ready to take out the trigger group. So you take an Allen key and just push those out. I'm not too fussed about scratching my pins or anything like that. If you're fussed about that, then use something plastic, pencil or something, or some such like. Alright, so you've got your two pins, take them out and put them to one side. You are going to need those later. Take out the old semi-auto trigger group. Need some grease in there, Rob. Okay, take that out, put that to one side. So the marker now has all of the old components out that you need to take out. So we need to get the new trigger group in. So here is the new trigger group. Essentially slot that in the top. There's a bit of jiggery pokery just to seat that in there. Lovely. Okay, so what you need to do is you line the rear pin other way. Sorry, me being a DA, I need to put the pin in the other way around. So there we go. The back pin's in. What we're going to do is go ahead and put the front pin in. Do the same thing there. Pull it around. Cool. So there we go. So the trigger group is in. I'm going to go ahead now and put the new fire selector switch in. And again, as we saw before, if you turn it to a position just up between safety and semi, then it slots back in quite nicely. Okay, so we have safety, semi-auto, and full auto. There's no noticeable pull difference here for semi and full auto, so I imagine it's going to take some getting used to. But anyway, I'll have a play about that. Put it around on safety. So the velocity adjustment is still up in the front here, and your rate of fire is this little hole here, and you need, I believe it is a 564 Allen key, which is the tiny one, to do your rate of fire adjustments. Okay, so it will be stiff because the screw that all sits on is is spring tensioned in there, and it has to have friction on it. So I don't know what this is set to out of the box. They say it can be anything between 8 and 15 to 18 balls a second it could be set at. So it all depends on how your upper receiver marries and sits with your lower receiver. All the individual markers apparently are different, so they don't know what it's like out the box. The guidance for setting this up is to set the velocity first, so chrono it and set the velocity, then adjust your rate of fire. If you change your velocity, your rate of fire will change. So it's one thing to bear in mind. If you think you've perfectly set it up and then you chrono and have to change, you may have to do a velocity change. I think I'm going to do another video on the velocity. So this may end up being a 3-part video, but in this first part we're just going to put the components in so you know how easy it is to do. So that's all in. Now we're going to put the upper receiver back on. So first off, I'm going to line up the front. Okay, and the rear. Good to go. And just give it a didn't want to cock the one. Cool. So there we have it. All the bits are in, all the old components are out. What we really need to do now is to run some air through it. Do 20 to 30 shots in semi. When it's cycling, it's cycling correctly in semi. You can then turn it around to full auto and test that, and then it's obviously to chrono it, set the velocity, and then play around the balls per second. Hi there, thanks for watching the video. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if this video is helpful to you in any way. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. It really helps us YouTube creators get noticed and move forward on the platform, and I'd really appreciate it. If you've got any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. I'll try and get back to every single one of them as soon as I can. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.